I'd been out all night and came in the next day to work in, and then they came in again. And the Holy Spirit said to me, "Today is the day." And that
Wow.
day, I approached them. I left the counter. I sat on the table with them. I said, "I want to give my heart to the Lord." And that day, I gave my heart to the Lord. Immediately, I stopped drinking.
Really?
I had tried to quit drinking so many times. I had wrecked brand new Jaguars, Mercedes, cars, drunk.
Just like
Yeah,
that.
and I knew
You quit
immediately
drinking.
that Jesus was real. But after that, it grew even more because I'm selling everywhere. And so then I said to Michael, I need to just focus on the skates. So in a matter of 6 or 8 months or 12 months, I'd become very wealthy. I had become a millionaire.
So you're mainly selling it, or did you have to warehouse it? Or
I warehoused my own. Yeah, I
you had to
warehoused
buy
it
the
too.
inventory,
Buy
warehouse
the
the
inventory,
inventory,
warehouse, yeah,
distribute
and
it
distribute it all over,
all over
England.
Europe.
Because then
England.
all over England then, because
Okay.
I didn't only have my territory. I had everybody wanted skates. All the skates. So I was distributing everywhere. Because to make it work, I had to work harder than the average person, as opposed to somebody who's very brilliant or very intelligent. But in my opinion, in my life experience, that there's no substitute to good work ethic. So I worked really hard. And also what I'd say about opportunities in business. Opportunities in business comes to everybody. It's a question of grabbing it when it comes to you. That's the question, Tom. Yeah, amen.
Welcome back to the Marketplace Kings Prosperity Podcast. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe so that we can continue to create more content just like this. Our prayer and our hope is that you get something out of these podcasts and you're able to apply into your life and into your business. It's one thing learning principles and theories in school, but it's another thing hearing actual stories of how real marketplace leaders are impacting their spheres of influence in today's economy. So be sure to put a comment below, and we want to hear from you. Welcome back to Marketplace Kings. Really excited. I've got a new guest, Vic Vora, and I want to introduce you to Vic Vora. Welcome.
Hi.
Glad you're here. We know each other from a mutual friend, Wade.
Amen. That's right.
And recently you've been carrying the cross with him across the nation.
Yes. Oh, yeah. God spoke to Wade about 3 years ago to carry the cross to all 50 states. I think we're on state 27 now, or 28. It's going to be West Virginia is going to be 28.
It's wild to see his journey around the states.
Right.
I'm going to have to join one day.
You should. You should. It's eye-opening. It really is. Yeah.
So I want to start with your business career in Europe.
Yes.
You went from India to Europe, and like all other business entrepreneurs, you hit a home run, like it seems like out of the gate with roller skates.
Yes.
How did you come up with roller skates?
Yeah. So, I went to college in England and I educated myself pretty much because I went to college during the day and I worked at restaurants at night to pay for the college. And at college, I met this Jewish guy. His name was Michael Gilbert. And him and his brother, David Gilbert, they became very good friends and became very fond of me because I was alone. So they kind of adopted me to their family. It was an upper-class Jewish family. And I go every Friday to their house for Shabbat. And just an incredible family. When I say upper-class Jewish family, it's not, Jews are normally associated with making money. And this kind of family, this upper class family was like, make money was really important, but quality of life was really important too. So they kind of adopted me. And after we finished college, they started a wholesale sports goods business with the help of their dad. The dad was the brain behind it because he was very accomplished. And this business really took off for them. And they knew me, of course, and, we were real good, close friends, and they saw that my work ethic was excellent. Jewish people don't just hire anybody. They're very particular, who works with them. They decided to hire me, and they said, Vic, if it doesn't work out, we'll give you Southeast England. But if it doesn't work out, because the color of my skin, there's a lot of prejudice in England still since the British Empire and all that stuff. if it doesn't work out, then you can yeah, head the manufacturing part of our business when we're going to go into manufacturing. I said that's fine, but it just so happens that I got Southeast England, and I was a very devoted kind of a salesperson, and I made it one of the best territories for the company. And as we were going along, the company was doing really, really well, and I was distributing sports goods all over Southeast England. And so, I'm a friendly person. I'm congenial. People like me, and so I make friends with all the people that I kind of did business with for the company. And and since retailers found that I was kind of very creative in doing business, they said, Vic, the roller skate there was a roller skates business that's dying in the U.S., but it's coming into Europe through Germany. And how would you like to get into that, because you could distribute that? And I got to know all the manufacturers or the major importers of the roller skates. And since I had already got all the accounts built up, I started distributing them at the same time working for Gilbert Brothers, and which was kind of unethical, because you can't do a job right while you're doing something on your own. But it seems to me that I kind of justified it in my mind and said, Michael and David are doing so well. I'm doing well, but they really own everything, and they're making the real bucks. And and I was only just a young kid. I was just like 23 years old or something like that. And I said, it's my turn, my opportunity. And I was not doing anything illegal per se.
You're working two jobs.
Working two jobs, but it was not fair to them,
right?
Because I had a salary and commission and so on. But doing that, the roller skate took off. It just took off. And finally, Michael and David found out about it.
And this is in the 70s?
This is in the actually, 78,
70s.
77. So then, because we were such good friends, he said, Vic, okay, you carry on with your business and you still promote our products on commission only, no salary. I said, that's fine. But after that, it grew even more because I'm selling everywhere. And so then I said to Michael, I need to just focus on the skates. So in a matter of 6 or 8 months or 12 months, I'd become very wealthy. I'd become a millionaire.
So you're mainly selling it, or did you have to warehouse it? Or?
I warehoused my own. Yeah,
you had to buy the inventory, warehouse the inventory, distribute it,
distribute it all over England, because
England.
All over England then, because I didn't only have, my territory. I had everybody wanted skates, all the skates. So I was distributing everywhere. With all businesses such as roller skates, which is a boom one day, it becomes a bust too. So I started to import my own product from Taiwan. Okay. And that takes 2 months to get it. You pay in advance, letter of credit, whatever. And I started thinking, this could come to an end. So my eyes started opening towards some new avenues that I could get into later on. So there was another Jewish, in England, in Europe, in general, if you do business, you're doing business with Jews. Okay. They control everything. I mean, they're the smartest people, in my opinion. They're just very good work ethic, and they're just smart. I mean, God just made them like that.
I've done business with quite a few, so and they are smart.
Smart, yeah. Yep. And they're very dedicated and devoted to their work. So there was this company in Southend-on-Sea called the Bermans. They were into textiles and buying licensed products, and they had taken a very strong liking to me, and they said, Vic, we just bought a license from Walt Disney Productions to make sweatshirts and T-shirts with a dimension weld application. Dimension weld application is a special application. For example, you might have the Mickey Mouse family riding in a car, and it's on your sweatshirt or T-shirt, and as you walk, you see the dimension weld that the car is moving. It's moving, and you see the characters. I mean, it's fascinating. And just like the roller skates, Mickey Mouse or Walt Disney stuff had become a big hit in Europe. They were opening stores in Europe with just Mickey Mouse products, and sweatshirts and T-shirts for kids was very hot. Kids loved them, but it became a fashion item for the adults. So They said, since it's a European economic community and you can distribute all over Europe if you're based out of one country. So why don't you go to Germany, settle down in Germany, buy a company there, and then distribute the product from Germany? So that's what I did. I just packed up all my fares, sold everything in England, kept my house, moved to Germany. I had friends there. I had friends everywhere. So I had friends there, and I bought a company, and then I said, oh my gosh, to run this, I have to speak German. Now, I already speak French, and so I started to learn German. I started to promote the product. I warehoused it. I opened a couple of retail stores too, one in Munich, one in Heidelberg, and I warehoused in Munich. And we started doing fairs all over Europe, exhibitions all over Europe with the product. So that's how we started it. And slowly, I learned the language. It took about 6 or 8 months again for it to take off. But I didn't know it would take off this way. I mean, I was already used to so much success, but it took off. It became like sliced bread. Everybody wanted it. And they could only get it from me. Because it's such a hot item. So you were talking about department stores like Kaufhof, which is like Nordstrom's.
Okay.
They were all carrying the products. And it's huge. It's just huge. And everybody wants it. The kids want it. So, you're supplying, shipping all the time. You're just shipping all the time. So it was really, really good. But, I couldn't.
So you had a lot of employees?
I didn't have a lot of employees. I ran a tight ship, just a few handful of employees. Basically, you're warehousing and you're doing exhibitions and you're shipping. That's it. So it's not a.
And you're the main salesman.
Main salesman, I would say. So what would happen then? The money started coming. I already had so much money, and then it started coming in floods. So much. And being young, like 28 years old, 27 years old, you don't know how to handle all this. It's so much money. You don't know. You just don't know. And so just to kind of to deal with it, I started drinking. So I became what they call a functioning alcoholic. So I drank morning, noon, and night, and I worked all the time. And but I'd pass out at midnight or something, at some bar or some club, but I had people that would take care of me and would take me home or what, so, but so it became an issue where I was drinking too much and trying to manipulate where to put the money, where to invest it, and where to bank it. I didn't know. I mean, it was too much, So my parents visited me in Munich in 1983, and they stayed with me, and they saw my lifestyle. They saw me drinking a lot, saw me going crazy, being stressed out because shipping, people not paying their accounts or whatever. It was. They saw the stress I was under, and and the drinking was really bothering them too. They said, Vic, you've done quite a few businesses now, and then and you just don't even know how to handle your money. Why don't you just go to Dallas? It's booming over there. Your sister is there, so at least you'd have some family. And if you go to Dallas, you could start something new. So I thought about it, and I said, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And so, because I knew also at the back of my mind, even this Mickey Mouse phase is going to die. But fortunately, I had my brother living in Heidelberg. And so, I left quite a few of my affairs with him, but I left 80% of my wealth with him because the dollar was very strong. And I didn't want to change a lot of money because on the exchange rate, you would lose a lot of money. So I said, I gave him 80% of my wealth and said, you control this money and whatever you make is yours, but you just give me 10%.
Okay.
And he was investing in the stock market and, currency exchanges and all kinds of stuff. And even I think at that time, the Hunt brothers in Dallas captured the silver market. Right. So he went on that bandwagon too.
It's currently up to $48 today.
Yeah, and at that time we sold it for nickel and dimes. Yeah. We really did.
Broke the level.
Yeah, right. So
Silver's
I wish I had waited. But anyway, we bought a ton of silver and put it in vaults in Switzerland. And but with investing and the market and playing with the money like that, it's kind of like gambling. Mm-hmm. You might as well be in Las Vegas. So he hadn't actually worked hard to make all this money, but he got carried away. He's making so much money overnight, and then he got carried away. So you take more and more risks. So in 1987, he really got carried away and lost majority of the wealth. And I'm already in Dallas at that time. And I already bought the first Subway franchise in Dallas. They only had 500 stores at the time. And now they have 60,000 stores, I think.
Did you meet Jared?
No, I
The
didn't. No,
Subway
he
guy?
came much later. Much later. But I did meet the owner, Fred DeLuca. He actually flew down to Dallas. He started the franchise, the whole Subway franchise with Dr.
So
Yes.
going back to your success in business,
Yeah.
what would you attribute the skill set needed
Yes.
to not only being in the right place at the right time, but sounds to me like you were very good at cultivating relationships.
Yes.
You're able to see opportunities and have the foresight and
Yes.
vision
Yes.
to move.
Yes.
What are the things that you
Yes.
could think of are important?
First thing I would say to you is that I'm of very average intelligence. You know, I had 5 siblings, and I was probably the least intelligent in the sense that, you know, things came hard to me. I don't know why. So I think, hindsight, I think that the fact that I had to struggle so hard to learn stuff gave me a very good work ethic. Because to make it work, I had to work harder than the average person, as opposed to somebody who's very brilliant or very intelligent. The tendency is when you're like that, you tend to become a little bit more lazier because things come easier. But in my opinion, in my life experience, that there's no substitute to good work ethic.
Right.
And also having been raised by the Jewish family, Michael and David Gilbert, you know, they had a great work ethic too. And so they taught me all the, pros and cons of doing business and so on. So I worked really hard. And also what I'd say about opportunities in business, opportunities in business comes to everybody. It's a question of grabbing it when it comes to you. That's the question. Yeah, amen. That's right. So, so I think that's what made me good at what I did, because I was always looking. But then again, I had made business my God.
Good.
Yeah.
Let's jump into
Go
that.
ahead.
So you came to Dallas.
Yes.
You had the new franchise.
Yes.
And we saw in the intro where the Christ for the Nation
Yes.
students
Yes.
kept coming into
Yes.
the Subway.
Yes.
How did that faith journey
Yes.
begin?
Yeah. So now I'm, working at the Subway, making it. I was going to open 10 stores. Basically, that's what was my objective. And it was not difficult for me to open 10 stores because the investment was like $50,000 per store at that time, so which is a lot more today. But so it wasn't a big deal. So, I was working towards that, and then of course, I had the habit of drinking too much still. And, I was partying a little bit. I was a single guy, partying a little bit. I was in a rock and roll band at one time. So, like a long hair, and I like girls and all that kind of stuff. And so I was doing all that kind of activity, yet being diligent with my work. But, but when you're doing, let's say cocaine or, drinking too much, there's up and down. So when you're down, and you're working then, because you have to work. So you're working, and then so it's bothering you because you're down, but you have to work hard and stuff. So all these kids from Christ for the Nation used to eat there. Everybody used to eat there, and and I'm friendly, they're friendly, and their purpose, for if you're a true born again Christian, your main purpose is to bring other people to the kingdom.
Right.
That's the main purpose. So their purpose is to bring me to the kingdom, because they're seeing me every day, because they're eating there every day. And so they're witnessing to me about Christ every day. But I'm seeing a lot of joy in their life, and a lot of love, and I'm desiring that over a period of time. In the beginning, I'm just saying, I believe in Jesus, because as Hindus, you believe in all the gods.
Mm-hmm.
So but they don't work. They're just going to Christ for the Nations to school to study the Bible. They don't make a living. I'm so wealthy, and it's that kind of those games are being played. That's Satan just doing a work in your mind. So, but over a period of time, God started working in my heart. I didn't know God, but God knew me.
So were they witnessing to you?
All the time.
Okay.
Every time they would come in, they would witness to me. And I'm kind of congenial, so I would listen to them. I would listen to them, mostly out of being kind and a good customer, a good business owner or whatever. But God works in mysterious ways. We don't know how He's working. So over a period of 1 year, it took a whole year for it to really penetrate my heart, and I suddenly realized this is what I want.
Wow.
This is what I need. And then one day, one day, I had been out all night and came in the next day to work in, and they came in again. And the Holy Spirit said to me, "Today is the day." And that
Wow.
day, I approached them. I left the counter. Sat on the table with them. I said, "I want to give my heart to the Lord." And that day, I gave my heart to the Lord. Immediately, I stopped drinking.
Really?
I had tried to quit drinking so many times. I had wrecked brand new Jaguars, Mercedes, cars, drunk.
Just like that.
Yeah.
You-
And I knew
you quit
immediately
drinking.
that Jesus was real.
Okay.
I said I couldn't do it on my own. Here I accept the Lord, and I didn't do it for the drink part of it, but the desire suddenly went away. I didn't want to drink anymore, and I said, "This is it. Jesus is real." I immediately started to go to church. I started to go to church, and my other weakness was also girls. So that would be a hindering block again. So as I went to church, I immediately saw my wife,
Wow.
and I started dating her right away. And we dated for 8 months. We got married. We have 3 daughters. We have 2 grandkids. And our 3 daughters live across the street from us in their own homes. And they all love the Lord. We've been married for 38 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And 38 years, and I can honestly say in these 38 years, having been in the fashion business, I haven't looked at another girl. So, I mean, that's again God. I realized one thing is that, we can't really take as a believers for credit for anything. It's all a gift from
Right,
Jesus Christ.
right.
He gifts you, things that are detrimental to your life. He takes them away. Certain things he takes. Other things we have to walk out. So it's like a partnership. Jesus is the senior partner. We are the junior partners. So
I like that.
we still have to do our
Right.
legwork, but he takes care of everything else. Yeah.
How you're at Subway,
Yeah.
you give your life to the Lord.
Yes.
How does your relationship with your employees change, and how you lead the
Amen.
business at
Amen.
that point?
So immediately, I have a cross put up on the counter for every customer to see, and I share my testimony to everybody. That's another thing about owning your own business. You can talk freely, but in Subway it was a little bit more different because it's a franchise. So they found out, the head office found out that I'd become born again, that I was talking too much about Jesus, that I'd put in a prominent place where the menu is, a big cross, and so I was discouraged from continuing to do that. And so I still did it, because you have to do what you have to do. So I still did it, but where we were only playing Christian music, there was no secular music we was playing in the Subway, and then and all my employees I was witnessing to, some of them started to go to church and gave their heart to the Lord, and so it was very contagious. It was very contagious, but I was losing favor with the head office and stuff like that, but it didn't bother me that much. And I'd already started to go to church, and I'd met my wife, and I was thinking differently, and I was thinking, I'd always liked fashion, and I said, it's time for me to do something else. So I kept the Subway, but I opened the first European fashion clothing store in Dallas on Lovers and Inwood, and that was the Rodeo Drive of Dallas at the time. That's the time of Star Club and all these, it was getting really hip in Dallas. And I called the store Déjà Vu à Paris, which basically means already seen in Paris. So I was buying all my fashions in Europe, in Paris, and in Europe with my brother, who was still in Luxembourg at the time, and importing it into Dallas and selling it in Dallas, but at a discount. That's another way I did business, where I would carry the same stuff as Nordstrom, but at half the price.
Because
So-
you had the direct relationship with those
The
suppliers?
manufacturer, and I would buy for the factory itself. So, and plus I would buy deals because I had a lot of money. I'd buy the whole factory,
Okay.
and I pay cash.
And they wouldn't mind Nordstrom's or Neiman's
They would
were
complain.
complaining.
They were complaining because not for every line, but because a lot of lines I'm getting from
Yeah,
Europe.
You're
They have no-
buying the
yeah,
rest of the last run
Yeah,
of something.
I would. Yes, that's what I would work on. But it was still 3 years ahead of time for Dallas. But Dallas is still behind Europe, in fashion. at that time anyway. But then there was lines like Jabot, which was a denim line. It was a French denim line, which was very popular. I was discounting it, and people was coming from all over the place just to shop. I mean, there was lines outside the door even for that.
Those jeans.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, that was junior high.
That's why I asked you how old you were. Yeah. Anyways, so then Nordstrom, of course, complained. They said, "How is this guy selling them for $39? We have to sell them for $80 or whatever." And so, so they stopped shipping me.
Oh.
They stopped shipping me.
So what would you say to someone who's watching this right now, who feels far from God, who may be stuck in addiction?
Yes.
Their God might be their work right now, and they're having a level of success, but they don't have any peace.
Right. So this is what I would say. Prior to accepting Christ, I was still a religious person because I kind of grew up in a Brahmin household where we prayed all the time. My mom and my dad prayed before every meal for half an hour, for example. So I still knew about God and reliance on God. But, my gods were demons. So I really didn't know God, but God knew me. So he was seeking me out, and he got me in Dallas. So my advice to anybody else is, learn from my bad experience. Learn from me. Christ is the only way. He's the only true God. And to surrender your life to him. And if you don't know him, you ask him, God, if you're real, Jesus, if you're real, reveal yourself to me. And God is faithful, because God will show yourself to him, because God is no respecter of persons. He created us all, black, white, brown, everyone. So he created us all. You ask him for him to reveal you. If you're having a problem accepting him, ask him to reveal himself to you. And I choose to believe he will. He will, and save you. But the only way, I think, success in life, and business is just a means to an end to have a nice, comfortable life. But success in life is knowing your Creator. Knowing your Creator, that's the only success in life. And the success in life is, bringing others with you to heaven. You have to think about eternity. Now, you hear about so many people dying, shootings. Charlie Kirk got killed the other day. The guy was 31 years old, loved the Lord. Did he know 2 weeks ago that he would no longer be on earth? He was with his wife and his kids. Did he know that in 3 days I'll be gone? So do we have any guarantees in life? We do not. So many people are dying. For minimum 100, could be cancer, could be anything. I'm not trying to put a fear in you, but I'm just saying is, even if you died at 101, life on earth is a blink of an eyelid in light of eternity. Think about eternity. Eternity never ends. It goes on and on and on. So if you're in heaven, you're with the Lord forever and ever, and it's joyful. On the contrary, if you're in hell and you're burning, it never stops. You don't pass out. I was with my grandson. We go and work out every morning at about 4:30 in the morning at Lifetime Health Club. And so, on Saturdays, he says it's a relaxed day. So we go into this sauna. Now you sit in the sauna for half an hour. You start to burn. Can you imagine hell? It would be like that, and you can't open the door and come out and go into cold plunge. You can't do that. You're going to stay there. Wow. Hell is that. The Bible says it's that. It's not a joke. So, I'm not trying to preach hell
and brimstone. Right.
But that is the truth, though.
And I love your evangelist heart. I can see how you're good at sales. And so right now, I think we'll kind of land the plane here. What are you doing now? And is there a next roller skate, or is there a next Disney for you? Going all in at carrying the cross.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I've lost all interest in money. I need money to live. I have a family and to support, and we have a pretty comfortable lifestyle, so I need money for that. So I did save money over the years, and I've been living off that because I haven't worked for about 16 years. So I've been living off savings of 16 years. And really I would have to do something again to generate money. And I think that with the help of my wife, we invested wisely in a little bit of property. So, which is appreciated, as everything in Dallas is appreciated. So I think I'll be okay. So I don't think about business anymore. So 7 years ago, I started to go to this church called Create Church in Richardson, and I met this evangelist by the name of Daniel Hoyos, who I went out on the streets with evangelizing. And then one day he introduced me to Wade Aaron at Todd White's church. And I kind of really liked Wade, and we'd kind of bump into each other from time to time at different events and so on. And then I found out from Wade that he had evangelistic classes at different churches at different times. So me and my wife, we would go to these evangelistic classes, and after the evangelistic class, we go out on the streets again to minister. So Julie and I really loved that. And then, of course, I found out about his cross trips, and that he started these cross trips, that God had spoken to him to carry the cross to all 50 states. And, I'd follow Wade, whatever he was doing, because I really respected the guy. He was just...
And what's the name of...
Christ Reward. Christ's plural reward.
And how do somebody find Christ Reward?
You can go to Instagram, and you can find Christ Reward. YouTube, you can find Christ Reward, and you can follow his journey of every trip that he takes every month is recorded, videographed and recorded, and you can see salvations, you can see healings, and
what's the craziest thing you've seen on the street
I've seen
here?
Just the other day. It's just the other day, this guy was a wrestler at a university, and his leg was totally injured. He could barely walk on one of his legs. And Ray just came across him and started to witness to him. And the guy said, I can barely walk, and I'm a wrestler and stuff. And he wasn't a believer whatsoever. He said, Jay, do you mind if I pray for you for healing on your leg? He said, yeah, sure. I got nothing to lose. Go ahead and pray for me. And I was right there, and Wade prayed for him. And instantly his leg was totally healed. And he started shaking. He said, I can't believe my leg is working. And then his friend was there. He said, pick up my leg. There's no pain. He was completely healed right away. That's just one instance. But there's been so many healings. I've been walking with Wade for 2.5 years. The first time I asked him was almost 3 years ago. He was going to Salt Lake City, and I said, Wade, do you mind if I come with you? He was a little skeptical, but he liked Julie, my wife, quite a bit, and in the sense that she was a devoted believer and stuff, and he started to kind of like me, but he didn't know how to take me, because I look different, Asian Indian, just a little different, it's not his vibe, but he said, okay, you can come. So we did go to Salt Lake City, and we stayed with Taylor, who is the videographer, his dad's place, and it was just a real pleasant atmosphere, very pleasant experience. And then we took the streets. It's a Mormon country, and we have several salvations. I saw that firsthand, several healings. I saw it firsthand. I just absolutely fell in love with evangelism. I was trying to do it already anyway, but it just totally changed my life, my thinking. And so every time Wade would go somewhere, I would just ask him, Wade, can I go with you? He has said every time he said yes. For the last almost 3 years, he just says yes every time. He's the greatest evangelist, in my opinion. I've never experienced such devotion to Jesus like Wade has. He could be sick. I remember we were in Canada, and he had a tumor in his leg, and it was really hurting him. In the middle of the night, he got up at 4 o'clock, took himself to the emergency room, got the tumor removed, came back by 7 o'clock.
What?
And we were at the coffee shop by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and carrying the cross for 10 miles that day.
Whoa.
That's the kind of devotion he has. He's just absolutely amazing, just amazing.
Well, I really appreciate your time, Vic, and coming out here, sharing your wisdom
much,
and your life story. So encouraging, and I'm just encouraged by the testimonies that you have. Amen. And I hope and pray that someone watching this gives their life to Jesus, because today is the day of salvation. Amen. They feel that tug and that pull on them that that Jesus is pursuing them and wanting to have a relationship with them. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. God is so good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.